Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to get started in just a few moments. We want to make sure we get everyone into the Zoom space. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to get started momentarily. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Technology Community Information Session focused on digital media balance, digital citizenship, instructional integration, and critical topics related to cybersecurity and online safety, hosted by the Office for Community Engagement. I'm Daphne Kaiser, Assistant Superintendent for School Community Engagement, and your moderator for this event. During this session, division experts and school-based learning technology integrator from the Albemarle County Public Schools Department of Technology will cover topics including digital citizenship and practical ways to support students in using technology responsibly and in healthy ways, instructional integration, and how to stay up to date with students' academics, as well as online safety and specific measures ACPS takes to keep technology resources safe and secure for the entire ACPS community. In addition, participants will have an opportunity to ask questions at the end of the presentation part of the session. Tonight's agenda includes a welcome from Albemarle County Public Schools Superintendent, Dr. Matthew Haas, an introduction from the moderator of our panelists who will be presenting presentations from our esteemed panelists, question and answer session, and Dr. Irizarry, Director of Equity, School, Family, and Community Relations, will close out our time together with final thoughts and next steps. We appreciate you spending time to be with us. Now I will turn it over to Dr. Haas for the welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. And indeed, I want to welcome everyone here tonight. And I just want to say, as we start, that I am very proud of our Department of Technology. I have watched this department over the years, and we have amazing technology staff in Albemarle County Public Schools. And I think we have top of the line resources that are vetted and brought to life through this department, and they find their way to children due to our maintenance of our technology, our hardware, our web services. We also have really strong learning technology integrators that work side by side with our teachers and our students to ensure we get the most out of the technology that we bring on board with Albemarle County Schools. So it is critical that we have this outstanding department as part of our overall operations in Albemarle County Schools, because as I think we can all agree that technology really is, computer technology, use of the internet, use of artificial intelligence, use of technology for communication and connectivity really is not part of the future, but it is the present. And students that are able to and are able to learn and grow in this environment are going to be well suited to life and work relationships and getting the most out of life in the 21st century. The flip side of that is that there's a balance and to use of technology with finding your own space, personal space, and really keeping an eye on how much time you're spending on screen time and interacting on social media and using these tools for learning. So I think these topics will be covered tonight by the experts, but I really want to just make sure everyone understands just how important this work is for our students in Albemarle County Schools. Thank you very much for being here tonight, and I'll turn things back over to Dr. Kaiser.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haas. We have a wonderful group of panelists joining us this evening. Our presenters will share about 8 to 10 minutes worth of information related to their specific technology topic of digital citizenship, instructional technology, and online safety. In a moment, I will introduce the panelists in the order in which they will present. But before I do that, I did want to mention that we will be recording this session, and information will be posted on our ACPS YouTube channel. You will have access to this for as long as you need to, and we will be sending it out to the community so that everyone will have an opportunity to watch, even if they were not able to attend this evening. Please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A function at the bottom of the Zoom. We will not answer them until after the presenters have had their 8 to 10 minutes to speak. We will take about 30 minutes at the end of the session after our panelists have presented to answer questions. At this time, I would like to introduce our panelists. We are so glad to have our district experts and school-based learning technology integrator, or LTI, from the ACPS Department of Technology join us for this event. We have Nita Collier, Manager for Enterprise Applications, Michael Gagne, Manager for Infrastructure and Student Support, Jessa Miles, Learning Technology Integrator, supporting both Brownsville Elementary School and Mountain View Elementary School, and Clay Todd, Assistant Director of Technology Integration. All of our work and everything we do in ACPS is centered around our strategic plan, Learning for All. Our vision is learners are engaged in authentic, challenging, and relevant learning experiences, becoming lifelong contributors and leaders in our dynamic and diverse society. Our mission, working together as a team, we will end the predictive value of race, gender, and special capacities for our children's success through high-quality teaching and learning for all. We seek to build relationships with our families and communities to ensure that every student succeeds, and we will know every student in ACPS. Our values include equity, excellence, family and community, and wellness. Our goals include thriving students, affirming and empowering communities, and equitable and transformative resources. And this evening's session touches on all three goals: thriving students, affirming and empowering communities, and transformative resources, with an emphasis on our thriving students. Now, I'm going to turn it over to our panelists, and we will come back in a short while to answer questions afterward. Nita Collier, Manager for Enterprise Applications, you're first to present.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiser, and thank you all for having the Department of Technology here tonight. Thank you all for coming and spending the evening with us. So we appreciate you attending. Just to touch a little bit on what the Enterprise Applications team does. Our team maintains and administers many of the division's core systems and applications. That includes application administration, account provisioning, management, and data security. This team works behind the scenes to keep that data organized and safe and flowing between all of the systems. You can go to the next slide, please. Albemarle County Public Schools uses PowerSchool as the division's student information system. Sometimes you'll see that as SIS, S-I-S. The system houses all student data, items that are found in the parent portal, the PowerSchool portal, are students' basic demographic information, contact information, transportation, bus numbers, grades, test scores, teacher comments, report cards, meal balances, and more. On the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a list of things that you see as you open the parent portal. And the URL to our student information portal, the public URL for families and students is the one on the screen right there. PowerSchool has the ability to securely house all of these data elements for your students. This includes specific safety measures that is built by the Enterprise Applications team. This allows your school administration to control which people can see what specific data. So the data in this system is used by other applications to allow access for students and teachers and administrators to complete various tasks for your student and housing that student data. You can think of PowerSchool SIS as the gatekeeper of student information in ACPS, and that gatekeeper for all the dependent applications that go along with that, such as Schoology and various other applications that Jessa is going to get into in a little bit. You can go to the next slide, please. Thanks. Thank you. As a public school school division, we must abide by the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, known as FERPA. So this means that only people that have a legitimate need to access student information is allowed to. So teachers and administrators and central office support personnel and some application partners. So that's how we abide by who gets to see your students' data. The other part of this slide is the support and support for PowerSchool. We are here to support you. We're here to support all of our stakeholders and community. We have a PowerSchool family guide that you'll see at that link below. This can assist you in navigating your PowerSchool experience. If you have trouble with PowerSchool or have access issues, your first stop is your school's front office. They have information. They know how to get assistance for you. Your access codes are also housed by your school's front office. So if you need assistance with getting those access codes and connecting kids in your portal, that's where you would go. If you needed to change contact information or update email addresses or phone numbers, it's important to let the school know that. There's also many resources on our website for you to get to. And if you notice that link, that link has the parent portal guide in multiple languages. You may have heard a few weeks ago about a PowerSchool data breach. This breach was affected regionally. Some schools were affected regionally and nationally. ACPS did receive confirmation that our student data was not affected. And we have put in some safety measures in additionally to what we already had. We are checking PowerSchool server logs, and we have found no unauthorized access, and we will continue to do so over the next several months and years and as we move forward. Next slide. I think I'm passing it off to Michael Gonyar, who will be discussing how we keep our students' data safe through security.
Thank you, Nita. My name is Michael Gonyar. I'm the manager for infrastructure and support services. It's a long title to say that I manage a team of engineers that we like to say make clicky click and blinky blink. So we do everything from internet that comes into us, internet that leaves us, and software policies on the machines that the students use. Anything that you can think of that's more of the Wizard of Oz type things. That's typically the team that I represent here today. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go over a couple fancy sentences, but we'll talk about them. We'll break them down a little bit. We prioritize student data safety by leveraging modern firewall technology to protect against unauthorized access from cyber threats. And that's a fancy way of saying that we have a couple physical pieces of equipment that actually take in the internet and deliver it, and vice versa, to and from the outside to the inside. And those pieces of equipment have policies and algorithms and all sorts of things that do exactly what we want them to. So we like Nita pointed out, FERPA, we follow all of the Internet Protection Acts. What's that? SIPA, I believe that's called, Children's Internet Protection Act. So we follow all of the standard federal and state regulations for that sort of thing, as well as anything that we discover along the way that we know needs to be blocked or monitored. we use those devices to do those things. Next up would be our filtering systems. So our advanced filtering systems are always evolving, and that's a critical point here. Ensuring that safe and appropriate content is accessible, minimizing risk. So our filter is, as you all know, the internet is a dangerous place. There's a lot out there. There's always new websites. There's things popping up every day, every minute of every day. So our filter is a company that has a team of engineers and mathematicians that work on algorithms and AI to help us do our best work, which is fine tuning it after the fact. So if we're ever made aware of something that is new in an upcoming threat or a website or something along those lines, someone can let us know, and we'll do some research and figure out a way to block that. No filter system is perfect, but we have a team of engineers that work day in and day out to make this as best it can be. Next up would be kind of the computer software policy layer. Okay, so that's anything that's on the student and staff machines. And these policies and protocols are used to help maybe prevent unauthorized use of tools that haven't been vetted by the Department of Technology, specifically the learning technology integrators and some of the engineering team. So those policies are always on. They're working at school, they're working at home, they're doing everything they need to try to mitigate a lot of the risk that you can perceive. Additionally, and perhaps most importantly, we provide ongoing training for staff, which helps them recognize potential security risks and follow best practices. And this all together creates a strong multi-layered defense safeguard that helps keep your students safe and their data safe. This final layer I like to call the human firewall, and it's of utmost importance. As you know, I mean, people using the machines are just as important as the software and policies and protocols that go into the safety. So if people understand and recognize potential risks, they're more likely to do their best work teaching instead of worrying about viruses and malware and that sort of thing. So next slide, please. With that in mind, I want to talk a minute about phishing with a PH. And this is a topic that can be used in your day-to-day life. This is not just work-related. This is not just school-related. This is all of us all the time. So phishing is scam messages that pretend to be someone trustworthy, hoping to trick you into sharing important information, or maybe having you do something for them. So I'm sure we've all received these phishing calls, there's phishing text messages, there's phishing emails. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the phishing emails, but if you're ever curious, there's lots of educational material online, and I encourage you to look those things up or perhaps work with a member of the Department of Technology. So when in doubt, ask somebody, specifically a Department of Technology member. So this first item here I want to point out with the arrow pointing from that laptop, that's very specific to our organization, but all of our staff have, when they receive an email from outside the organization, that email is tagged external, meaning that email came from someone outside of our people. Okay, so that's just your first indication that that email might not be legitimate. So it's a good, quick check, because as you know, when you're reading your email, a lot of the time you're just boom, 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 you're flying through it. So next thing, are there unknown sender? Is the sender unknown to you? Is it a fake email address? You know, is it not something you're expecting? Is it an email that seems at a left field? Is there a sense of urgency? Very often, almost all the time, these bad actors play on our sense of guilt. So they're going to try to make you do something by making you feel guilty about it. Hey, your password's going to expire. You forgot to do this. Hey, you forgot to sign up for your insurance. Click here. Hey, your package is going to be delivered and it's outside your door, but you have to sign it, but you have to click this link to do that. All those sorts of things are tricks that work. They work very well. So keep those things in mind. The fourth thing I want to point out here is what's called the hover technique. And I'll just quickly cover this. This is when you take your cursor and you move it over a link online. And when you move that cursor over the link, you're going to see the true embedded location that link is representing. So for instance, if you hover over the link in this little screenshot here, it says unknownsite.com. Now, this really only works on your computer. It doesn't work super well on mobile. So keep that in mind. If you're ever curious about an email, it smells fishy, it looks fishy, it walks fishy, it's probably a fish. But go to your computer and take a look at this email before you click on any links. And then the last one is kind of important. In the past, we always said spelling and grammar issues or spelling and grammar errors were common. And they still are to some degree, but with the advent of AI, this is becoming less so. It is now much easier for a bad actor to generate a message using AI, which was more likely to use proper English or proper grammar, that sort of thing, to really pull you in. And that's so it's not quite a red flag anymore. Of course, if you do see that, be careful. So in the bottom right here, there is a little website that we've put together that has some training, a little bit of information for you. Please feel free to use that bit.ly or that QR code. And we're here for your staff and your students. So please, if there's ever a question, try to get that funneled through. I'm happy to answer questions. This is a passion of mine. So I'd like to be here to help you if I can. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Hi, everyone. I'm Clay Todd, Assistant Director for Technology Integration. Thank you, Nita and Michael, for taking the time to sort of walk us through some of what happens behind the scenes in terms of tech at school. But I know that many of you as parents or family members or students or community members are really wondering about what goes on in the classroom with technology with students specifically. So my team of learning technology integrators are a team that goes out into schools. They're school-based, and they work closely with teachers and students around the healthy integration of technology into the classroom. Technology is a tool, and a tool can be used for good. It can be used for evil. It is just a tool, right? And so knowing how to use that tool in a way that is helpful is crucial. But we also know that in terms of learning technology, what happens at home is very important as well, especially because for our secondary students, our devices go home. So we're going to talk today a little bit about what happens in the building in terms of technology use and also some resources that you can use at home. And I'm going to turn it over to Jessa Miles, one of our learning technology integrators who's out in the building. She's going to tell you a bit about some of the work that's happening out in our schools.
Thank you, Clay. So I'll start us off with what students use technology for in schools. Our purpose for using technology in schools is to equip students with the skills they need for their future. So basically, it's not just about learning facts on their device. It's about fostering creativity, collaboration, and critical thinking through the tools they use that they will eventually use in their real-world careers. By understanding how technology supports learning, our hope is that families feel better equipped to support their children's education. So some of the learning tools that students use include research and project tools, so online databases like through the libraries, educational apps such as math, reading, science, and other subject areas, and 3D printing and coding for STEM exploration. Students can also collaborate online in spaces such as Google Workspace or other virtual platforms where they're able to kind of have peer discussion and teamwork, not unlike maybe video games that they access at home. At the elementary level, that looks like Seesaw or maybe Google Classroom, and students in kindergarten through second grade use iPads to access our guaranteed viable curriculum. It also helps them be able to make the curriculum available through audio resources and accessibility tools. Third through fifth grade use laptops. And in the middle school and high school, they also use laptops, but they connect with peers and workspaces such as Schoology. Some other ways that teachers use technology to support their students are by personalizing the student learning. They use adaptive learning softwares that adjust to the student's needs. They also have tools that engage with differentiation for students with any ability. Students are also able to create projects and show their creative expression with digital art, videos, and other multimedia presentations. Some skill building is incorporated. So we try to teach students as early as kindergarten about digital literacy and digital citizenship, which we'll hear more about shortly. We also teach basic coding skills and practice with real-world tools like spreadsheets and presentation software. Some students are also able to take assessments and get their feedback through online platforms. As you know, the SOLs are something that always comes in the spring for our students. Students are able to practice through online quizzes, formative assessments, and also track their own data and see how they are progressing. In my role as a learning technology integrator, or LTI, I collaborate with teachers and administrators to provide experiences that embed technology into the existing curriculum. So my team works to provide professional development for teachers, co-plan and co-teach with educators, reflect on our practice. We also partner with other professionals to meet school-based goals for academic success. And so while our role may look different every day, we are boots on the ground in the schools, working with your children and working with teachers.
Thanks, Jessa. And Jessa and I are going to tag team a little bit here as panelists back and forth, since we both support a similar role in the division. I'm going to talk next about our responsible use of technology policy. This is the policy that sort of governs the use of appropriate use of technology by both students and staff in the buildings, and whenever a child is using a ACPS device. So anytime, whether it's at home or at school, that your student is using their ACPS device, this policy does apply. We recently revised it. So if you've heard of it before, if you were familiar with the previous version, I just want to touch a little bit on what's in here so that you have an understanding of kind of what the banks on the river, the guardrails are around use of tech with students in ACPS. So a couple key points. First off, we can monitor any activity on ACPS devices. It is possible for us to see where a student has been online. And we don't actively do that. We are not going in and saying, oh, where did Johnny go today? We only engage with that activity in times where there's been suspected misuse, and we're either dealing with a discipline issue or with an issue where we're trying to get a student help that may need help. But it is possible for us to do so. So just know that as your child's online, both at home and at school, we are able to see that activity as needed. Teachers recently onboarded a platform called Lightspeed Classroom Management, and this platform also allows teachers during the school day in class to sort of keep students focused on the task that they've been given, which sort of allows teachers to keep an eye on the activity that's happening as well during the class period. This does not apply outside of school or outside of the class period. We also maintain a web filter, as Michael mentioned before. I'm going to touch a little bit more on that in a minute and how it works and what you can reasonably expect from it. Personally owned laptops are not to be used in school. This is relatively new to the policy. We do make exceptions to this, though, in cases where it's needed for a student for any particular reason. So if you think that your child does need to have a personal laptop in the building, just please have a conversation with your school administration by getting in touch with your school, and we can start that conversation. And that is just to protect students and make sure that any devices that are brought into the building, the filters are applying, those sorts of things, to make sure that truly everybody's having a common experience and a safe experience when in the classroom. We do provide instruction to students on digital citizenship, or some people call it digital wellness. We're going to talk in just a moment a little bit more about what that is, but that is in our policy that we provide that instruction. So that is happening across grade levels in terms of the healthy use of technology and thinking about things like am I using too much of it? How do I check to make sure something's true that I see online? All of those things that come with being a good digital citizen are sort of baked into our policy. And we also, in the policy recently, updated the regulations, which is sort of how the policy comes into practice, to be student-friendly language. So if you were to go and take a look at it, which you can see at the link there, you'll see that the policy is sort of distilled for elementary and secondary students in a way that would be understandable by a child. So we go over this with students in the curriculum, but if you're interested and you want to have those conversations about this policy at home, we highly encourage you to take a look at it, because the way that it's phrased in there should be accessible for you in terms of how you might speak with your child about it. I'm also going to briefly touch on the web filter. Michael hit on it a little bit before, but the bottom line for you all to know is that there's two layers. There's the firewall, and that protects students from sort of outside attacks. It's more of a security measure. And then there's the filter that sits on top of that. And that's what's weeding out the inappropriate content. Keep in mind, as Michael said, that filter is maintained by a third party. The internet is a huge place. There is so much out there that's good and bad and everything in between. And it is impossible for 1 or 2 engineers to sit down and comb the whole internet. So we do contract that work out. However, we are able to customize the filter based on what this company provides for us. The company is called Lightspeed, and they are they focus their time and energy on K-12. So they are focused on the education space. The filter is generally pretty good, like 99+% of the time, it's grabbing the content that students should be seeing and it's blocking it. However, just as any filter, physical or digital, is gonna stuff trickles through. You know, no Lysol spray gets 100% of germs. It's that 99.9% of germs, right? Like something can occasionally get through. We do everything we can to stop it. If that happens, there are a couple things that kick in. In our curriculum, we ask our students that if you see something that makes you feel icky, or if we say to a high school student that you know you shouldn't be seeing, let your teacher know. We put in a ticket and we get that blocked at an additional level. We can go in and customize that. If this happens, if you see something as a family member, a parent, a guardian that concerns you, you can do the same thing. Please reach out to your child's teacher and let them know what they saw. What we don't want to do, though, is show it to other people, just in case that what we're seeing is something that we don't want others to see. So the big thing is just let somebody know, and we will take care of the problem on our back end to go and make sure that that gets blocked through the filter. Last little thing I want to say about filters that I've heard from some families in the past, and we're taking steps to work on this, is that some students we have heard of installing something called a VPN on their machines. This stands for Virtual Private Network. And what it effectively does, it's a piece of software that allows the computer to sort of hide its traffic from the filter. We've taken some steps to make sure that students are now unable to install unapproved software on machines, but we know that kids are creative, and we certainly want kids to be creative, but in the right ways, right? So in terms of VPNs, if you hear that come up at home, or you suspect that your child may be attempting to install something to bypass our filters, please get in touch with our school administrator, and we can look into that for you to get a sense of whether or not that's actually occurring. All right, and Jess is going to talk to us a little bit about our digital citizenship curriculum.
Thanks, Clay. So for our digital citizenship, basically in today's digital world, being a good digital citizen is just as important as being a good citizen in the real world. Oftentimes we find that kids become someone else when they get online because they feel comfortable hiding behind the screen. Our job is to make sure that they are themselves, whether there's a screen involved or not. And so we teach students to navigate technology responsibly, to help protect them online, promote respectful interactions, and prepare to thrive in an increasingly connected society. So in a nutshell, digital citizenship is being responsible, respectful, and the safe use of technology. Understanding rights and responsibilities is also a big part of working in digital spaces. There are specific domains addressed in our family field guide and our digital citizenship curriculum. So I'm just going to briefly go over them as you can see them on the screen. Media balance and well-being, basically seeing how students can manage their time on and offline and understanding when they do need that break. Privacy and security is protecting their information and avoiding those unsafe websites Clay was just talking about. For digital footprint and identity, it's very important that students are thinking before they post online. I know sometimes, it's reactive more than proactive in some of the things they're sharing, but just being aware. And then also being aware of who they are and how they want to be perceived by others, because that's a big thing about when students start posting content online. Another part of the conversation is cyberbullying, digital drama, and hate speech. We want to identify, prevent, and respond to harmful behavior in productive ways so that we don't damage relationships and our presence online can stay positive. And the final one is surrounded by news and media literacy. This is also what Clay was talking about in evaluating reliable sources and avoiding misinformation. And they can do that. They're learning this in the curriculum, but they can do that by exploring websites and having that critical eye of almost parallel researching, where they have an opportunity to use something for their research, but then they go and also research the source they're using. So for example, if they were using like National Geographic, they could, on the back end, research National Geographic, make sure that it's something that they should be using for their specific research project. Now, we also hope to include families in this by modeling good digital habits and setting clear expectations, just like we do at school. And just so you know, there are always parental controls that you can have in place. Also, making sure that you have open lines of communication so students are comfortable and want to come talk to you about things. We really value educating our students on how to navigate the digital world safely and respectfully. And luckily, our district promotes this through our curriculum. We are Common Sense Media certified. And in a little bit, I'll share the Common Sense Media resources for families. So back to you, Clay.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessa. Another topic I want to touch on briefly, because I know it's something of concern for a lot of families right now, and for us, to be honest with you, is artificial intelligence. We know that AI is transforming society very quickly. This has really changed the way a lot of us work, or it might change the way a lot of us work. It's also changing the way that kids approach their work in school. So I want to talk briefly about what our approach to AI is and kind of where we are in that process, because there is a lot more to come that I'm not gonna be able to share with you tonight because we're still making some decisions. But I want you to at least know that we're thinking about it and kind of where we are and where we're headed. So, so far, our division has developed some guiding principles, and these are around the use of AI in school, both as a division at large and for students. And these address sort of both the opportunities and challenges of AI in education. They're kind of belief statements. This document is like almost ready. It's so close. And when it is ready, we are going to share it with all of our stakeholders, families, students, teachers, everyone that AI matters to, which is everybody. So please look for communication around that to come very soon. And it will kind of represent our philosophical position on our approach to AI in school. We have already developed some lessons for our high school students around AI fundamentals, so like how AI actually works. There's a lot of misconceptions about what it really can and can't do. Bias, we know that AI is it's inherently biased by the information that it takes in. And so there are lessons to help students sort of process whether the output that AI is giving us is biased or not. Safety, so the data and stuff that I put into AI, is it safe for me to do so? As well as ethics and the ethics of AI. So we've got lessons out there that kind of grapple with those things, and there are more of those to come. And currently that's at high school. We are looking to expand that. We do have some resources for teachers that we've been putting out slowly around sort of the appropriate use scale. So maybe a 1 on that scale is I can't use AI at all, and a 5 on that scale is I can use AI freely, and then gradations in between. Maybe I can use AI as a thought partner, but I can't use it to generate content. So we're trying to, again, look at AI as a tool. When is appropriate to use it and when is not? As well as some syllabus statements. So you can look for that in future syllabi that might come home from your kids' classes around the use of AI. We've already put out some professional learning for both our leaders and our teachers, and you can look for more to come on that. So know that we're training our staff, and there's a lot on the horizon to do even more. And our LTIs have a committee that's focused on the approval of AI tools in the division around very rigorous criteria: safety, is it educationally sound, is the output appropriate for the age group that might be accessing it, those sorts of things. We are currently we're starting a steering committee of division leaders that will eventually include family, teacher, and student feedback to further inform our plans around how we approach AI, as well as integrating more of the same concepts that we talked about directly into our digital citizenship curriculum. And finally, you can expect to see more resources from us to help you as families have conversations about AI. So I know you probably have a lot of questions about it. Know that we are working on it. It does matter to us. It's very important that this is something that we address, and you can expect to hear more, including probably some community events at site-based community events to come and ask questions. Okay, and finally, we're going to touch on some resources that you can use at home with your child around learning technology, both from a digital citizenship perspective, but from a learning perspective as well.
So we're going to start off with Common Sense Media. It's a tool that empowers families to make informed decisions about technology and media. The link is listed there, but if you go there, there's going to be lots of resources tailored for every age, especially helpful if you have multiple students in your household, because it acts as a trusted partner in navigating the digital age and basically ensuring that your children engage with media in ways that are safe, balanced, and positive. Everything we've been saying so far. So what is Common Sense Media? It's a trusted nonprofit that provides resources for families, educators, and schools. It can help families navigate technology and media with confidence. Some of those key resources include there's movie, TV, and game reviews. So those have age-appropriate ratings with details about the content. I know that's super helpful. I had a conversation with a second grader the other day about Fortnite, and we were talking about how, oh, I wonder what the terms of service are on that. So it's cool to have those conversations, even if it's something they really enjoy. Some parenting tips are on there as well. They give you guides on managing screen time and social media and other online safety tools. And then there's also family media agreements. Those are tools that help families just start the conversation. It's a tool that can help you set household rules around the use of technology. That way it stays positive and it's well balanced. There's also an educational focus, as I mentioned. Our schools use the Common Sense Education's curriculum for teaching digital citizenship all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade. And the curriculum covers real-world topics like privacy, cyberbullying, and media balance. Now, why does this resource even matter for families? We think that it can help families feel informed about the media that their children consume. And it also encourages critical thinking and healthy habits around technology use in general. So not just at school, at home, but also as they engage in camps and clubs and other things they do in the community. Common Sense Media is a great starting point for families if you haven't encountered anything like it before. It helps you be in the know and have conversations, sometimes tough conversations, but necessary conversations around technology and media consumption at home.
Thanks, Jessa. In addition to Common Sense Media, which is a fantastic resource, please check it out. We live and die by Common Sense Media and the ACPS. It's just phenomenal, both for teachers and parents. We also have developed a publication. We colloquially call it our Family Field Guide. It's really it's a guide for digital citizenship at home. So it includes a lot of different things, including information that you've heard tonight about the AUP, information about how we take care of our technology and the filter, but it also includes some of the things that Jess has referred to tonight in our digital citizenship curriculum around how you can partner with us in having those conversations with your students. So if you were to click on the links, or excuse me, just type in the links or go to the QR code, it'll take you directly to that guide. We have it available in both English and Spanish. Please note that this is, at this point, it's about 2 years old. Technology moves very fast, so we are working to update it. We are pretty close on that. Expect to see a publicized version by at least the fall, maybe earlier. But the most important part of that guide, in my personal opinion, is the back half. And in the back half of the guide, you're going to see each of those digital citizenship domains and then a wealth of resources for you, including things like conversation starters. So if you don't have time to go and read that article on Common Sense Media or watch that video, start there. Look at the conversation starters, because it's a way just to, at the dinner table, kick off a conversation about how do you know that if you're on the computer too much, or have you ever seen a friend get cyberbullied, and are just great entry points as a family member to help support your child with the healthy use of technology at home and in school. And one other resource that I wanted to point out as well, if you were to Google Family Media Agreement, it's not on this page, but as I was sitting down tonight, I thought, oh, we really should have put that on there. You'll find from the American Pediatrics Academy, or American Academy of Pediatrics, you'll see it very clearly if you just Google Family Media Agreement. It will walk you through step by step the important domains of digital citizenship, as well as things like helping you think through in your house, what is a good device-free zone? And it'll print out at the end an agreement for you and your family to collectively sign about the healthy use of technology in your house. So please check out that resource as well. It's really awesome. They updated it not too long ago to make it even more interactive and easier to use. So definitely check out the Family Media Agreement through the American Academy of Pediatrics. Last thing that we're going to hit tonight, we've talked a lot about digital citizenship and what we're doing on the back end. If you are a family that's thinking, hey, this is all great, but we don't have internet at home, we actually do have a program to help you get connected. Now, I realize most of us are accessing this online somehow right now, so this may not apply to you, but maybe you have a friend or a family member, or maybe you have gone to a family member or friend's house to watch this. It's called ACPS at Home. You can see the link there. But the bottom line is there are two options to get connected that we offer through the division. One is low-cost broadband. It's not free, it's low cost, and you do have to qualify based on some financial factors. And it's through ACPS Local Governments that has a broadband office. Additionally, though, if you don't live in an area where broadband is even possible to get, we know we have some more remote communities where some of our internet service providers don't go to. It could be possible that if you have cell service that you could get a hotspot through us, and that's through us in-house. Either way, though, if you're not sure which is the right option for you, every school has a point of contact for this program. So all you need to do is call your school, let them know, hey, I'm struggling to get internet at home. Who do I need to talk to? They'll connect you at that point of contact, and we will get you to the right people to help you get connected at home. So I want to thank all of you. That is our final slide. And so I'm not sure if any questions have come in, Dr. Kaiser, but if they are, we are happy to answer them.
All right. Thank you so much, Nita, Michael, Jessa, and Clay for your presentation this evening. You've been informative and provided the community with valuable information. Now we're going to take about 30 minutes to answer questions. We have a few come in through the Q&A function at the bottom of the Zoom, and feel free to keep sending those through, and we will answer in the order that we are receiving these. However, do feel free to email the superintendent's office at k12albemarle.org email address if you feel you have further questions or do not get the answer due to lack of time. So the first question we have, can you tell us how the ACPS filters work when students are in schools?
Yeah, I can answer that. There's a software agent that's installed on every student's device, and that agent runs as a service in the background. It's running all the time. Anytime the student uses that device, it's on. And that filter, as we stated, is monitoring internet traffic. So what goes in, what goes out, that sort of thing. And it's blocking things that shouldn't be there, or just blocking things that are illicit, explicit, what have you. And then also monitoring for activity, just documenting everything that happens on the internet on that device, so that we have a log of, perhaps misuse, or if someone's in trouble, if someone needs help, that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you. Michael, this next question is probably for you as well. Do the filters work on non-ACPS student devices?
No, okay, that's yes and no. Okay, so if you're on the ACPS public Wi-Fi, that is also filtered. So if your personal phone is on our ACPS public Wi-Fi, there's going to be some level of filtering there. It's not the same as the secure Wi-Fi, which our devices connect to by default, and certainly not to the same degree that the agent running on those machines operates. But otherwise, no, there is no agent that we install on personal devices. There's no filtering that happens at home on your, on your iPhone. That we're not doing anything of that sort. No.
Thank you.
Can I clarify as well, real quick, one other thing that I think might matter? When your child takes their device home and connects to your home internet, that filter is only applying to their device. It's not applying to the rest of your internet at home. It doesn't have anything to do with your other devices. We're not installing anything on a home device and when your child connects to your home Wi-Fi, if that makes sense. So it's just that ACPS laptop.
Thanks, Clay. We also have a question. This is more of maybe on the instructional side. Where can I get resources for my kid to continue learning practices at home?
I love this question. We would love to partner with you on resources at home. And the simplest answer to that is to contact your child's teacher. They have access to resources. And if your teacher says, I'm not really sure, ask them to contact their LTI, their Learning Technology Integrator. That's what Jessa does. And that person can also help the teacher connect you with it and may even reach out to you depending on what the resource is and what it is that you're looking for. But yes, many of our resources are accessible at home. And depending on whether or not your child takes a device home based on their age, they may need to access that in different ways, but it is possible. Another thing I want to plug real quick is ClassLink. Your child can get to ClassLink at home, not just at school. What ClassLink does is it launches, it allows a student to log in to available learning resources from one portal. I can probably, I'm not sure if the chat will push out here, Eric, but if not, we'll make sure that we get that link published when this gets published for how to get there. It's, I believe it's launchpad.classlink.com/K12 Albemarle. Your child logs in with their normal credentials, and from there, they can just log into things like, depending on what they have access to, Lexia, Zern, whatever resources they might have access to at school, for the most part, should be accessible at home as well if you want to continue the learning there.
Can I also add that each individual school has a library website, and the library website has all of the research tools on there that students are able to use, and it will most times specify, like for math, for reading, whichever subject area you're curious about.
Thank you. Do all students receive devices, and at what age does that start?
I'm happy to take that one. Yes, all students do receive devices. However, the device that they receive, when they receive it, and whether or not it goes home varies by grade. So break it down for you. Kindergarten through second grade are one-to-one with iPads. However, it is up to the teacher and the school admin as to when those devices go out. So more commonly in second grade, you'll see them go out earlier. In kindergarten, we have some staff that prefer to wait and transition students into device use slowly. So it does vary. And if you have questions about when a device may be going out in your child's classroom, their teacher is the best person to ask. Note, though, that in the K2 setting with iPads, the teacher is very much in control of when it's in a student's hands. So we certainly don't encourage staff to just hand out a device and leave it with the student all day. It's coming back and that sort of thing. And our LTIs help staff to think through how to manage all of that. Third grade through fifth grade, students get a laptop. It's a Windows laptop, but those stay at school. They do not go home, except for in special circumstances where there may be an instructional need, or there might be in a student's IEP or something to that effect. But broad rule of thumb, they're staying at school. And then starting in sixth grade, it's still Windows laptops all the way up through 12th grade, but they do start going home at the middle school level in order for students to be able to complete their work at home.
Right, thank you. Are there programs in middle school or high school for students that are interested in STEM?
I think Jess and I are playing chicken on this one a little bit. Yes, definitely. If you have questions, there are so many different STEM programs. That's also a great question for our CTE teachers in your school. Those are elective classes that focus on career and technical education, and many of those are focused on STEM, computer science, coding, all those sorts of things. I'm not sure who is asking and what age your child is, but the best thing you can do is to reach out to your child's school, connect with the guidance counselor who can help you think through the program of studies available to your student. When they get to high school, there are even more opportunities through our centers as well. So we have some students currently at Center 1, and then of course Center 2 will be opening. That's a totally different panel, but stay tuned for whenever you have the opportunity to hear more about those. But there are very even advanced level computer science STEM courses. We also have our LTIs do a lot of work at the elementary level around computer science and STEM, and that is what I'm going to let Jessa answer really quick.
Sorry, my mute button was stuck there for a sec. I support elementary students mostly as the learning technology integrator, and there are a lot of opportunities for when we work with classrooms, we are invited in to kind of provide those STEM and STEAM events. But we not only do that just with classroom teachers, we also collaborate with like librarians and with art teachers, with music teachers. So students have exposure in all subject areas to technology use, or at least computational thinking concepts. And so I also wanted to plug that in the community, there are a lot of resources as well. We are blessed to be in Central Virginia, where we have like a free nonprofit. Girls Geek Day is one that I volunteer for. There's Blue Ridge Boost that does have paid programming. And then ACPS historically has provided a coding camp in the summer that now extends to, it was elementary based and now extends to middle school students as well, with high schoolers able to volunteer.
I'll also plug, if you're worried about how much screen time your child is getting, which is a common thing we hear, and we can talk about screen time if anyone has questions about that. We do have unplugged coding activities that we do as well. So coding doesn't always have to happen on a computer or on an iPad. We've got little robots that we work with kids with called Bbots and Ozobots. We've also got even just some like block-based coding that literally just uses like big pieces of paper that kids will go and do. So yeah, lots of opportunities for STEM.
Clay, you touched on that a bit. I know that's a question we get a lot of times when we're in schools and working with families. Can you give some general guidance on screen time as it relates to our students?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So screen time is an interesting topic because the research around screen time varies pretty widely, actually, in terms of what it has found. But what is consistent in that research is quality matters more than quantity. So that's not to say that you can't have too much screen time, but it is to say that what you're doing on that screen matters a lot more than how much time you spend on it. So what we strive to do is that when a child is on a screen, they are doing something that is engaging, not from a tunnel vision, I'm just consuming kind of way, but I'm creating, I'm thinking, I'm making. That matters a lot. So in addition to that, at home, we might think about things like television, video games. Are we just passively consuming those things? Or are we sitting with our children and then having conversations with them about what they're seeing, engaging them in active thought about what's actually occurring on that screen? And that consistently in the research is what matters the most. There is some research to suggest that if you have very young children, like pre-kindergarten age, that some limits probably matter just from a sort of visual and brain science perspective. I do apologize. I can't recall the exact amount. I think it's somewhere around an hour between ages 3 and 5 or something. But please, please, please focus with your kids when they're watching TV, when they're on devices. What are they doing? What are they making? And asking good questions about when is it time to turn it off? How do you know as a kid that I'm feeling a certain way because I've been on the computer for too long? We all have those feelings, right? I mean, I'm an adult on social media, and sometimes it's like, oh, wow, I'm just zoning out. I'm not engaging at all with this content. I'm just, we've heard the term doom scrolling before. You're just looking at lots of bad news. That's not healthy. But I'm a musician and I really enjoy in my spare time making digital music. That's a very different type of screen time, right? So the quality of the screen time is what matters the most. So please, please, please have those conversations with your children. That is crucial. Does that answer your question, Eric? Awesome.
It does. Thank you.
All right. Do all schools have LTIs?
Yes, they do. All schools have LTIs. Not all schools have dedicated LTIs in that some of our smaller schools, our elementary schools, share an LTI but with another school. We have 14 LTIs across all of our school buildings. So rough 25-ish buildings. So you do the math there. There's some LTIs share 2 sites. But yes, all schools have access to an LTI. All teachers have access to an LTI. And if you'd like to share a little bit more, please feel free. But yes, our LTIs are very active in every single building.
What types of activities, if I was a parent to come into a building to engage with my student in the classroom and an LTI was in that class, what types of activities would I see the LTI engaged in?
It varies vastly depending on grade level, depending on site location, depending elementary, middle, high school. I can only speak to the elementary perspective, a little bit to middle school. I was a middle school LTI my first year in this position. But for example, today, this morning, I was able to pop into a classroom and be a part of the morning meeting. So I had conversations with students. We kind of talked about, they're like, oh, the tech teacher. And it's nice to see me outside of just the tech role, I guess, seeing me as part of their community and building in and getting to know them on a deeper level. After that, I got to sit in a meeting with some teachers and start planning like our next event. We're going to do a 3D printing project through library. So that's really cool. And then after I had that meeting with teachers, I was able to pop in and do a virtual reality lesson on extreme weather. They're learning about in 2nd grade. They're learning about like tornadoes and hurricanes. And so we got to see the aftermath of those events and kind of use our observations and then make predictions. And then after that, I was able to, I've actually ran a coding club today after school at one of my locations. So that we were able to learn about Scratch Junior. My club is geared towards K2 who use iPads. So we use Scratch Junior. We learned about computational thinking. We watched a story. And so through Scratch Junior, they had to retell the story in different panels and block coding. So that was really fun. But days should vary vastly, but that's kind of what my day looked like today.
Right.
I think what matters the most is that our LTIs are working to integrate technology into the curriculum, not the other way around. So that's why that varies so widely. If we're working on extreme weather, we're integrating technology in a way that makes extreme weather feel meaningful. But if we're not talking about extreme weather, we might not do that VR lesson, right? So the work varies widely because it's about the instruction and it's about what kids are learning and making the technology bring that to life.
So I have a student that's very interested in technology and he thinks that he wants to go into the field when he becomes an adult. What types of experiences or exposure should I make sure that my student has in order to be prepared and ready for his after K-12 experience?
That's an awesome question. I see Michael unmuted. I'm going to say first, those CTE classes that I mentioned before are really, really important. We lay the groundwork in our general ed classes, but that's where they're really going to dig deep. They're going to learn the computational thinking, the coding skills, all those things that are really going to take them farther. But I'm an educator. I'm not a computer scientist, and Michael is a computer scientist in his own right. So I'm going to let him take it from here.
I would answer that with a question, or I guess I would say to this student, a good engineer asks good questions. So you should always be asking questions. Why does this work? How does this work? What happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? Those sorts of critical thinking, critical thought experiments are paramount in this. It's critical in this industry. That's where it starts. So if you're curious about technology, ask about it.
Thank you. If families have questions about technology, who do you suggest they contact?
I would say start with their classroom teacher. They're the ones who assign them usage of technology. And then if they still have more questions, depending on the nature of the question, they can reach out to their learning technology integrator at their school. And then if it is surrounding behavior, we typically ask that they reach out to the administration.
You talked a little bit about some of the devices that students use and other specific technology. Can you talk a little bit more about different diverse technology that the students are exposed to as they move through the grades?
Sure. I think that it sounds like the questions around what else might they be using besides just their iPad and their laptop. There's a lot of different stuff out there. I'll let Jessa share in a minute about our innovation library that we kind of send out to schools, but we do have a process by which our LTIs go and work with teachers and administrators and myself and others on our team to sort of identify where our gaps are in terms of learning experiences around technology. And that culminates in something called the Digital Equity Report, which makes recommendations for things that might go out into buildings. So that then often means other technologies are available besides just the laptop and the iPad. Examples of that, couple examples would be we onboarded a platform called WeVideo recently that's been a big hit, and WeVideo is a video editing platform that's web-based. It's a great example of if you're really engaging with it, of like a more engaging use of screen time, and your student can do that at home, at school. And we've got a lot of teachers using it for students to develop video projects to show their learning. Another example would be, oh goodness gracious, our VR is huge. We just, it's been really big at the elementary level for a long time, and it lets students take like virtual field trips and things. And we started onboarding that at the secondary level as well now, both for things like virtual field trips, but I know of a high school LTI that recently did a VR experience around in a psychology class around helping students to understand what it's like to live with certain mental disabilities. So the VR sort of simulates what that experience, so as an empathy building exercise and to sort of contextualize the learning that they were doing in that class. So Jessa, I don't know if you want to share a little bit more about some of the things you've done with other hardware.
Sure. Yeah, so it sounded like the question wanted to know, yeah, what hardware we have available and spanning the grades. I know with kindergarten through second grade, I typically use these little robots called B-Bots. They have buttons on the top of them that allow students to work through step-by-step sequencing and processing while engaging in other curriculum experiences. For example, we had in first grade earlier in the year, they used the B-Bots to collect numbers, dots and tens frames, and then add the numbers together to create a sum. So that's just one way. In third through fifth grade, and sometimes the younger grades, we use a little robot called Ozobots, which are very popular. They are line following robots. So we make the connection to Amazon uses line following robots in their warehouses. And so this is like a mini version of that, and seeing how to program and code it. They can code it by literally drawing lines, or they can use Bluetooth and download code from online. So practicing block coding. When I was at the middle school level, we use something called microbits, which are like handheld computers, basically. They're really cool. They use LED lights, and so students can program them to do different things. The introductory lesson I often use is we program them to basically have conditionals that say like, if I shake it, then this happens. And so if I shake it, then it chooses one of the three options of rock, paper, or scissors. So then kids, as they play and code it for the first time, they're actually building community and they're not cheating because we'll get a lot, wait, you had paper and you changed it to rock. So these little handheld computers will do that. And then I know the high school does way more advanced coding with like Arduinos, building on top of that, which are, how to explain it, lots of wires and coatings of like a little robot to make it do lots of different things. Lots of movement can be involved. So like creating an advanced mini machine kind of. They also fly drones in high school and things like that. So there's a lot of opportunity. Like Clay said, we have an innovation library, similar to a library you go to in the community, where you can go and borrow books and then return them when you're finished. We go to our innovation library, we borrow technology, and when we're done, we return it. So kids all over the county can have similar experiences.
All right, thank you. Do teachers have a way to identify AI student work?
This is a good question, a question we are working through, and a difficult question. We know that this is a problem, that this is something that is impacting a lot of staff and students right now in terms of AI and plagiarism. I will say that what we do know is that current software that's out there to detect AI has a very high failure rate. It does not do very well. And all it takes is, if the failure rate is 3%, if I'm teaching 100 students, that's a problem, right? You don't want to be one of those 3 kids that did their assignment correctly and it got incorrectly identified. So we're not looking currently at AI detection software for that reason. That being said, what we are doing is trying to provide PD for our staff around ways in which to tailor and write assignments, the tasks that we're giving kids that an AI can't take as well. We want kids being creative. We want more than just kids writing 5-paragraph essays. We realize, of course, that students are assessed on these things, and so it is complex, a complex problem to solve. But it goes back to the importance of professional development for our staff, systems for our staff, and those are the things that I mentioned when I talked about AI that we're currently in process of developing as a larger committee to work through. But yeah, AI it's a big disruption. At the same time, we've been through big disruptions technologically in education. So I don't say that to minimize it, but just to contextualize it. There was a time when the calculator was going to ruin math instruction. And there was a time when Google everyone's gonna be cheating on Google. We know that students cheat. We know that students cheat. Students were cheating when I was in school too, and AI wasn't there to help them do it. So it's a matter of helping our staff identify. We'll say we do have a couple tools out there that we're looking at. One of particular note that we're working with teachers on is something called Brisk. And what Brisk does is it allows a teacher to kind of see when students might do something like a mass copy paste. So if I went into something like ChatGPT and got an essay and I copy and pasted it in, I can tell. So there are some ways that we can help staff with that. So it's not like there's nothing we can do either, but I think it really comes back to professional development for our staff and instruction for our students. And I'll end this topic by saying I went to a conference recently where someone from another school division was talking. They did a sort of discussion of a focus group with students around AI and what students thought about all this. And overwhelmingly, students in that division really wanted rules. They really wanted guidelines around AI because they didn't want to be accused of cheating. Most of our students are not interested in doing the wrong thing. So they're just as concerned about this as we are and making sure we take the right approach. So we'll also be sure to engage some student voices moving forward as we try and answer this difficult question.
We have just a few more questions before we end tonight's session, and I really appreciate all of the good conversation with the team tonight. We know that we've implemented some policies around cell phone use in the division. Have you seen that as, has that impacted students' engagement with technology? What are you hearing from students around that issue?
So the cell phone policy, I'll start by saying, first off, it's fairly new. So I think some data is still coming in about that. It's also, that's a policy that's being carried forward by our student services department. So I may not be the best person to answer that question. And I'm sure that those moderating panel, Dr. Kaiser and Dr. Irizarry can probably point you to the right people around that question. We do know, obviously, though, that cell phones as a tool can have positive and negative impacts, just like any technology. And so if you have questions around how to have conversations with your kids about cell phone use in and out of school, please check out our field guide and those resources. They can really help you out there. But I would definitely, I'd want to make sure that student services had the opportunity to weigh in on the answer to that question.
Michael, you talked a bit about phishing. How are students impacted with phishing? Are they wise to the different things that happen as far as getting suspicious emails?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think Clay and Jessica can probably help me answer the instruction in the classroom for students regarding phishing, but how are they impacted? Same as we all are, which is that if someone is phished and either gives out their information, their personally identifiable information, or something critical about them, maybe mom and dad's credit card, who knows what it is. There's all sorts of ways that students are just as potential targets as we are when it comes to the phishing realm. So education is critical there. Absolutely. Clay and Jessica,
Our
if you can help me out with that.
yeah, our curriculum does cover phishing as well as a varying degree of other sort of cybersecurity, safety, privacy concerns in terms of when you should be expecting to give out your information and when you really shouldn't, and what the look-fors are there. So yes, we do cover that.
I will
All right.
add to that, it's a life skill, and I encourage everyone to talk more about it in your personal lives as well. It's going to just be with AI, the advent of it, it's going to get worse. I do believe.
All right, thank you. Are students able to join the wireless network with their cell phones?
Students can join the public network. ACPS-public is the name of it. Anyone can join that network is open for all. So that's a great resource for families to, if you need a quick connect, you just park in the parking lot, hop on ACPS Public, get something done. That's something that's available. And
All right.
yes, student devices can, yes.
Well, we're coming toward the end of our time, and I'm just checking to see if we have any additional questions. Just want to put it to the team. Do you have any final thoughts or final information for families to keep in mind as they're working with their students at home?
I just wanted to add that their partnership is invaluable. So anything they can do to be having these conversations is really important. And then always knowing that we're here for them. So reaching out, we want that partnership with teachers, with LTIs, with anybody in our division, just making sure they're comfortable with that.
I can attest to we are here for them. That is 100% true. And I am so proud of all of my colleagues for truly believing that and leading the way there. They set a great example for always being there for our students. So I'm very proud of the Department of Technology.
I'll just add that there's no silly question. So if you think that you can't do something with technology, just let us know. Don't get frustrated. please reach out to your teacher. Your teacher knows how to get in touch with technology folks that can assist them if the teacher doesn't understand or know. So we're happy to be there and help.
And I would just reiterate what Jessica said. I think that we're here to partner with you, and it really does take a village, especially in a world that's changing so quickly. Part of it driven by technology. It's very important to us that we are a part of positive change in that way. And it takes us working with you and with your students' teachers in order to make that happen. And, you know, we get it right as often as we can. We don't always, and we want to hear feedback from you. So we really appreciate you all taking the time to listen tonight. And yeah, reach out if you ever need any help with anything.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We've come to the end of our time together this evening. If you have additional questions that you would like answered or to request additional information from the team, again, we're going to put the email address in the chat, superintendent's office at k12albemarle.org. And you can send your questions or request additional information there. Briefly to close, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Irizarry. However, before doing this, I would like to thank again our wonderful experts, our panelists from the Department of Technology for their time this evening and for the great conversation. Definitely like to thank Dr. Haas for joining us this evening. We'd like to thank Gary Moore and Kenny Wood for their technology support, and Dr. Irizarry, who you will hear from last, for helping me field questions and monitoring the chat. As I mentioned at the beginning of the session, we've recorded this session and we will send it out to our entire community. The session will be up on our YouTube channel, so you'll have access to it. I cannot encourage you enough to email the superintendent's office at k12albemarle.org. Email address in the chat. We're going to put it in the chat one more time. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Irizarry, Director of Equity, School, Family, and Community Relations.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kaiser. And again, I do want to thank our Department of Technology. They're not only here for events like this, but they're always in the community with us as well, working with families and students to make sure everyone is connected. So thank you so much. And again, we get these ideas from our families and our community. So if you'd like to hear about a specific topic that is important to you, please email me or to the address that Dr. Kaiser just stated, and we'll be happy to do a community information session on those topics. So again, please feel free to reach out to us. Be sure to check out our podcast, our Office of Community Engagement podcast, Engage ACPS. We do many topics like this as well. So again, thank you, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
All right. Thanks for an outstanding session and have a great night.
All right. Good
All
night,
right, everybody.
everyone.
All right.
Thank
Hope you all have a
you.
nice
Good
Thank you,
night.
Thank you all for
guys.
inviting
Take
us.
care.
Have a good
Appreciate
evening.
it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, nice work.
All right,
Yeah, we didn't get
got
a whole,
another one down.
yeah, we had about 30, we had 30, so yeah, that's not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad.
Again, it's not a topic that,
Yeah,
but it needed to
but
get
it'll
out.
be a good one to put out on YouTube.
Yeah, no, it will be. It will be. All right, what do we have? What's tomorrow? Thursday?
I tried my best, Eric. I was trying to get to 7:30, but I was like, we
Nah,
need
it's
to do
they
more
were
questions.
dropping. They were dropping.
Yeah.
All right, so okay, so tomorrow is that 90-day plan thing again? Okay.
I got work to do.
I do too. And then I have one that is what is that? Who is detailed discussions for early calendars? Who's Kimberly Shigokia?
HR.
Ah, okay, she invited me tomorrow to their meeting. Okay, Zoom. Okay. And then we have a student prep meeting tomorrow. Yeah, so I may start over there and pop into a Zoom, and then I've got to get back and work.
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta do
Don't worry.
packets.
Yeah,
Okay.
don't worry about it. You do what you need to do. I'll go over there and fan around. I'm not gonna stay over there all day tomorrow. I'm gonna have to come back because I got stuff. I got AFE stuff that I need to be working on.
Okay, and I know it looks like we have a Zoom meeting. I think it's from you for support for students, staff, and families during political transition.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's like just a touch base. Or is there anything we need?
yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to stay on that long either because I'm going to the Paramount tomorrow to that function.
Okay.
The lady from
We should.
NPR is speaking.